This is the Post-Nihilist, and in this video I'm going to be explaining and exposing I Pet Goat 2, the 2012 about 7.5 minute video by Heliofant. And to start out, the title I Pet Goat 2 is a reference to George W. Bush's being in a classroom and reading The Pet Goat with some young school-age children as the Twin Towers were being hit. So the title itself is in reference to that event, 9/11, the reading of The Pet Goat, the book, almost as if signaling a sequel, to the first The Pet Goat incident, but also saying that I, as in I, am a pet goat too, as in the viewer, I am a pet goat as well. So we start out with a goat in like a concentration camp type setting, but it's really what it is like it's a pet goat. It's in like what looks like a dog house, and underneath the dog house there is with chalk a man holding a pet dog by a leash. So it's showing that the goat is in fact a pet. And there's stadium lighting, and there's 6 stadium lights, and what that indicates is that as we'll see, the goat's eyes are hypnotized, and the goat's head is going around in like circles because it's hypnotized. And then after a while, the eyelids on the goat kind of go down halfway to show it's hypnotized. It's almost in like a trance, almost, semi-conscious, meditative, sleep-like state. But the goat is hypnotized. And those stadium lights, you see those stadium lights at baseball stadiums, football stadiums. So it's almost to say that that is a means, that's at least one of the means to hypnotize the goat, the pet goat, through entertainment, through sports. And if you, in reference to it being a goat and not any other animal, it is clearly biblical in the sense that Matthew chapter 25 verse 33 says, "And he shall put the sheep on his right and the goats on his left." Then Matthew still on chapter 25 verse 41 says, "Then shall he say also unto them on the left hand, Depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels." So the goats, the pet goats, are those who have pretty much rejected Christ. So they're now pets of the devil, and we'll see that later on. But they're behind, the goats are behind barbed wire, and they use barbed wire for livestock, like to keep them in, because you'll hurt yourself trying to get out. So it's a deterrent. It instills fear and doubt in you if you want to escape. But they're hypnotized to feel that way as well. So the barbed wire could very well be, the hypnotism as well, making them afraid and doubting any kind of thought of escape. That escape isn't going to be easy, essentially. And they're livestock, essentially. Farm animals regarded as assets. That's what livestock is, behind the barbed wire. Okay. So the pet goats, which is actually the humans who have rejected Christ, are animals to the devil, and I guess also the humans that the devil has put in charge, has given his power to. And they even have to make it clear that it's like livestock, they have like a cowbell around the goat's neck. And the chalk that is used on the doghouse to depict the man holding the dog leash, it's drawn in chalk, and that could be indication that the pet goat, is being taught to be a pet being trained up to be a pet. And that'll be expounded upon later on in the video. Then on the goat's forehead, there are a lot of things in one image, so that's why I'm still on the opening image. On the goat's forehead is a barcode that actually has the letters, the number 666. So you have the 6 stadium lights, and then you also have 666 on the goat's forehead where its brain would be. Okay, so that means the goat has the mark of the beast. Doesn't have the Holy Spirit, but has the mark of the beast. And what happens is, if you're hypnotized by Satan's media, you become a beast, a pet, his pet, you know, a subdued, docile pet. And so the goat very clearly has the 666 on his forehead, is hypnotized, and it's become a pet. And it's in darkness, okay? And then the block letters of the title, I Pet Goat 2, are below it in like children block letters to show that, you know, they're basically talking down to us like we're children, like we're pets, and we're also like children. We're naive, we don't have any knowledge. So it's almost like, you know, a degrading kind of, you know, talking down to us, like, let me give it to you easy, you know, this is what you are a goat, you know, you're a pet goat. And then we see in darkness, we see the reptilian hands that are the puppeteer's hands, okay? Now, and they're reptile hands, and reptiles are cold-blooded, you know? They're cold-blooded animals. But the second definition of being cold-blooded means that you're without emotion, you're inhumane, you're sadistic, you're heartless, you're uncaring, you're pitiless, merciless, ruthless, unfeeling, unforgiving. So deliberately cruel or callous. So the reptile behavior is indicative of whoever this puppeteer is with the reptile hands. Okay. Now, on the left hand is a ring, and it's shaped like an S, but it has a dollar line drawn through it. So it's like a dollar sign, but it's also an S. Now, the S could indicate Satan, you know, it could be his first initial. But it's also this S, this snake shaped like an S, has a diamond eye. So also snake-like behavior, like serpent, snake, okay, and it's gold. But also with the line drawn through the center, it also equals the dollar sign. So it could be Satan, money, also snake, okay. So that's on his the reptile's left hand. But when you're looking at it on your computer, it's right, like it's our right, but it's his left. So it could be viewed as this is the right. Now on the left, which is actually his right hand, but you know, facing us, it would be our left, is a bleeding heart, an actual heart, and it's bleeding. So it's like, and it's on his pointer finger, so it's like a bleeding heart, bleeding on his hand, and he also has a little bit of blood on his other hand. Now, this could indicate, you know, blood on the hands indicates that this figure, this puppeteer, is responsible for causing deaths, you know. But also the bleeding heart, you know, on his right hand, but as we're looking at the screen, it's our left. Bleeding heart liberal, it could equal a bleeding heart liberal because it's a heart and the heart is bleeding, okay? So what you have when we're looking at it from our standpoint, on the left is the bleeding heart liberal, and on the right is the money sign, the gold snake, you know, gold shaped like an S with a dollar sign going in the middle with a diamond eye snake. So it could equal the bleeding heart liberals versus the Republicans who are concerned with money. But they're both being puppeteered by the same hands, like the same reptilian being is puppeteering the left and the right, and has blood on his hands, meaning he's responsible for the bloodshed as a result, or, you know, just from his own plan, his own game plan of causing, you know, destruction for his own personal goals, but it shows that both the left and the right, the bleeding heart liberals and the Republicans, are controlled by the same puppeteer. And it's in darkness, okay? And it's up high, like the puppeteer is up high. Then we go down below. Now, the strings are not visible down below. But George Bush is being puppeteered by this dark figure that's up high, but we can't see the strings down below. Now, when you think of a puppeteer in our realm, you can see the strings. Like you can see the person puppeteering you can see the strings being pulled. But if you're thinking about like a higher level, evil in high places, then you're not necessarily able to see the strings. So we go down from darkness, from the dark reptilian hand, and George W. Bush is being puppeteered, but we don't see any strings, and he's in darkness. And then he comes to life, and he does his little dance like he's an acting character, like he's performing some kind of performance, like he's performing. And he has the dunce cap on, so he's to be the stupid character. And he does, but as he's doing his little dance, he does like the scary boogeyman like hands towards presumably the children, because again, this is the pet goat setting where George Bush is in a class of mostly black children. There's a black female teacher, but the children are mostly black. Okay, so he does his little and this is during the 9/11 when he's reading the pet goat, and presumably both the children are the pet goats, and then we also that are viewing this I Pet Goat 2 are pet goats. So it's almost like the 9/11 event was like a mockery of what we have become, pet goats. But the puppeteer is invisible to us. We just see the puppets. So he's portraying, it's almost like he's portraying himself as the Republican enemy, like the boogeyman, the bad boogeyman. He's like, like scaring the little children. But he's being puppeteered. And he even puts up the devil horns. And he mocks us. He's also like when he's like an actor, because the star, like the spotlight shines on him, and it's like a star, like he's the star of a show. But he also puts up the devil horns, and then he mocks us by saying, if you fool me once, shame on you. But if you fool me twice, and then, he doesn't finish it, but it's saying we're the fools because we've been fooled again by another puppet. And with that, he puts up the devil horns, and then he does like the exorcist head turn and changes into Obama. So this is very clearly showing demonic possession, and that these presidents are puppets, and they're being puppeteered by evil forces from up high, and you can't see the strings down below. But it's the evil forces are, mocking us for not figuring out that these characters are being puppeteered by the same hand, the right and the left. George Bush is a Republican right, Barack Obama is the left. So he would be more, I guess, suitable to deceive, especially black people, like the audience of the young black children. When Bush was reading the Pet Goat during 9/11, black teacher, whatever. So it's almost like they're adapting to, the puppeteers are adapting to a changing environment, or just another goal in general. But it's from the same hand. And it says, for we wrestle, for Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. So the puppeteer is up high. We can't see the strings down below, but we saw the exorcist head turn of George W. Bush as he turned into Barack Obama, who's puppeteered by the same people. So what are these children being taught? Because again, the audience that George Bush was in front of were young, mostly black children. Now, on On the wall below the map, we have snowflakes. And I'm thinking that they're being taught that they're special, you know, like you're a unique snowflake, you know, everyone is unique and special. But the map above them seems to point towards disasters in at least 3 different locations on the map. You know, we have the Oklahoma City bombing, which seemed like a staged terrorist attack. We have the 9/11, which was a staged terrorist attack to make Muslims seem like the enemies. We had the Hurricane Katrina, and these are the places that are pinned on the map above the snowflakes. Hurricane Katrina, and we could say that the aid given to the people who stayed when the storm hit was disorganized. So whether that was intentional or not is up for debate. But above the map is an owl, and an owl to an owl to people in secret societies indicates like wisdom. Owls can see in the dark, so it's like a dark wisdom, you know. And you know, secret societies, they're secretive, and you know, they're oath takers and stuff like that. And the knowledge is secret because it comes from the devil. You know, these secret societies, whether they know it or not, they worship the devil. And so, you know, there's secret knowledge, there's secrets, there's, you know, wisdom, seeing in the dark, dark wisdom. That's kind of what the owl represents, and that's what's above the map. Now, also below the chalkboard is a picture of, there's like a math equation, and then beside it, there is a picture of a lightning bolt splitting open the human brain. And of course, lightning indicates Satan, you know, like Satan fell like lightning. So he is symbolized by lightning, and also to also help convey that it's Satan. There's a dragon next to the picture of the lightning bolt splitting the brain, and the dragon is kind of overlapping the picture a little bit, showing that Satan going into your brain. So these public school systems, the school systems, is really what it is a trauma, because I mean, if you get struck by lightning in your brain, you know, that's trauma to the brain, mind control trauma. But it's also Satan entering your mind when you're in these public school systems. And then how do we know that for sure? Well, they're teaching evolution. There's an evolution chart above the chalkboard, and it shows the various stages of evolution, which is a demonic, non-biblical, satanic theory. But at the end of evolution, there is a line drawn, and then on the other side is the illuminated man. So it's showing that they're the humans on one side, and then once you get to the highest stage of human evolution, then there's a break, and then on the other side is the illuminated man, which is saying like you're illuminated, like you become your own God. That's what it seems like it's saying. You're no longer a man, you become your own God. You're illuminated with, I guess, the satanic wisdom, Luciferian wisdom, and then you become a god, and that's why it's showing the light around the head or whatever. So there's also on the board beneath, to further illustrate what's being shown in the whole picture, there is a penis, and there are 3 drops. I would assume it's semen. 3 drops of semen, meaning that it would seem to be running out, like almost like the semen is running out. But in front of the semen, where the three drops are headed, is an erased person. Now you probably have to look at this video, this 7 to 8 minute video, at half speed. Like if you click on the tool and go to half speed in order to see this, but there's actually an erased person in front of the 3 drops of semen on the chalkboard. And it's almost saying that they're trying to erase or maybe depopulate, population control, or erase certain groups of people. But there's an erased stick image on the board next to the 3 drops of semen that come from out of the penis. So it's almost saying, the semen maybe is depleted and the person is being erased. But you can still see like the outline, but it's been clearly erased on the chalkboard. The person has. Now the burning house under it, I'm not sure why the house is burning, but the shark that is looking at the house, I assume loan shark, which are loan sharks are money lenders who charge extremely high rates of interest. So maybe it has to do something with the housing market, high interest rates, or high interest rates destroying the housing market, something like that. Now below the erased human, the semen leading to the erased person being erased, there is the hangman game. Okay, now in the United States, and then you see a deceased person with their eyes X'd out, their tongue sticking out, so they're expired, that has been hanged. Okay, now in the United States, blacks are most known for hangings. So to me, in the United States, I don't know who else that will represent but black people. And being that they're underneath the erased person, it's like they're trying to erase blacks. That's what it would appear to be to me. And the reason why is because in this hangman game, they're spelling out the word evolution, but the person who's playing the game doesn't spell out evolution before their chances run out. So they failed to evolve. They didn't guess the word evolution. So it's saying that blacks have failed to evolve, and so they deserve to be hanged because the person lost the game, so they're hanged. Okay, they didn't evolve. So I would assume that the image above, the evolution image above, is showing that whatever this new group of people are, they consider themselves to be separate from humans, above humans, enlightened, illuminated, their own gods. So it all ties in together with the teaching of evolution, the black person not evolving, so therefore erasing of those people deserving to be hanged because they didn't evolve according to the perspective of the inspiration for this video. And then of course you have the Masonic checkerboard floor, which is indication of Freemasonry, and also the black and white can indicate, the merging of good and evil. There needs to be both. That kind of New Age type occult teaching. And of course, as I said, the god of these secret societies, the god of the Freemasons, is the devil. So this would be, Bush and Obama, when he turns into Obama through Obama being the new puppet to be possessed. They're both on this Masonic floor. And of course, yeah, we have the owl, keeper of sacred wisdom. I already said that. So, yeah, evolution is shown as real. So the illuminated man with the Luciferian wisdom separated from man. Now, after the demon-possessed head of Bush turns and he morphs into Obama, Obama winks. So he's saying, hint, I'm just pretending, wink, wink, and that's also that one-eye symbolism, which the one eye, the foolish shepherd, the idle shepherd, the worthless shepherd that Zechariah talks about in chapter 11, is punishment, to Israel for not obeying the true God. So it's like, I'll send you a foolish shepherd, I'll send you an idle shepherd who will be greedy and who won't lead you, but will be violent towards you, won't help you at all because you rejected me. So therefore, I'm going to turn you over to a false shepherd, foolish and idle, a worthless shepherd, one that only is shepherd in appearance, but is going to be greedy and is going to treat you violently. And so, to that shepherd, the sword will be upon his right eye, and his right eye will be darkened. His right eye will be darkened. So the one eye symbolism, the left eye only showing, is to indicate this is that false shepherd. This is this false shepherd sent in place of the Christ that Israel rejected. Okay, and we'll get to who Israel is in a little bit. So he's pretending. Obama winks, he's pretending, and of course he's in front of this group of children who presumably is still the pet goat book reading group of children during the Bush 9/11 crisis. So he's pretending even to this group of young black children. But he winks, and he also, so he showed, the one eye symbolism, but he also has fangs. So I won't say that this wink is necessarily one eye symbolism because, yeah, I'll get to that later. I won't say that this equals one eye symbolism, but the wink itself, means he's pretending. But he has fangs, so, he's evil. But Obama is depicted, contrary to how Bush was depicted, Obama is depicted as the scholar, he's smart, he's charismatic, he's harder to detect, so he's more subtle. He's a more subtle form of puppet, a more subtle puppet. But we see that the teleprompter is giving him his lines. He's reading off of a teleprompter. The teleprompter tells him to laugh. It says LOL in the green lights. And he laughs. It seems natural, but he's doing what the teleprompter tells him to do. So he's still a puppet, and they fooled us again. Like Bush said, and I guess he's also laughing because they fooled us again, because Bush said, fooled me once, shame on you. And so now we're fooled again. So either Obama's laughing, or actually the puppeteers are laughing at us for being fooled again. Now, the red heart on the bottom below the chalkboard is a fake heart. And no, the red heart on the bottom is real. Like, there's a picture of a real heart, like what a heart actually looks like, on the bottom of the chalkboard, below the chalkboard. But drawn on the chalk, what we're taught is a fake love. So it's like there's the real love below the chalkboard, and then there's also below the chalkboard Satan traumatizing the brain, entering the brain. But that's not on the chalkboard, so presumably that's not taught. But this is actually what's happened, like Satan mind controlling us, entering our brains, traumatizing us through mind control. And also there's the real heart underneath, but we're not taught that on the chalkboard. What we're taught is there are 3 fake hearts drawn, meaning that the shape of those 3 hearts that are drawn on the chalkboard, that's not the way the heart actually looks. So it's fake. It's a fake heart, fake love. But it's what we've been trained to see the heart as looking like. It's trained to see love, to think love when we see that. So, it's a part of mind control. And the fake hearts are next to the classroom teacher. In The Pet Goat, which Bush was reading during 9/11, there is the black female teacher who is overweight, and she, has a perm. But also, and she's closest to those 3 fake hearts that are drawn in chalk. But also, Oprah Winfrey, she could also, she's actually a more fitting explanation of who that character is, because Oprah was responsible for Barack Obama in large part, becoming this likable character to her audience, which she has a large audience. So she really hyped up Barack Obama. But she was also friends with Bush. You know, she also had Bush on her show, and you know, they were all buddy buddy, you know. So that shows that both sides are being puppeteered. Now, this teacher like figure has um, who's closest to those three fake hearts, like the Oprah, like philanthropist, you know, fake love character. She has blonde highlights. She has perm hair and blonde highlights, so that could indicate that she wants to be white. But her eyes are green. And I was looking, you know, I did like a real, you know, just a brief uh, image search, and I didn't see any images of Oprah with eyes that green. I mean, well, green eyes period. I saw with like brown contacts or something like that. But that color indicates money. You know, money is green, and so the reason why her eyes were green is because she sees money. That's what she sees. Like, she's depicted as, you know, with these three fake hearts next to her, as this loving, you know, earth mother type character. Okay, that's what she's depicted it as, you know, with these three hearts next to her on the blackboard. But what she really is, you know, she's also on this puppetry. She's also puppeted. But what she really is money hungry. Like, she sees money. She sees green. She's a billionaire. You know, you become a billionaire by obsessing over money. So she's a billionaire. She sees green. That's what she sees. That's her reality. But she's depicted as this, you know, three hearts, you know, loving character. But she was friends with both Barack Obama and George Bush. Okay, so she's not. Looks can be deceiving. Um, so then we see this Alice in Wonderland type character, and she's surrounded by 12 like not fully formed like images that are supposed to be outlines of human beings, but they're not fully formed, and they're in this classroom, and they're behind the barbed wire like the pet goat was at the beginning of the video. These represent those black children in that classroom, and you know, there are 12 of them, because the real Israel are those who returned to Egypt by ship via the transatlantic slave trade. So we are the group, the blacks in the Americas are the group that actually fit the curses, the prophecy, returning to Egypt by ships through the transatlantic slave trade and other things as well. We are the true Israel, but we don't realize it. We've been dumbed down through the satanic education system. We're behind barbed wires, just like the pet goats, like to show that we also are pet goats. We haven't fully formed as human beings because of the teaching, the mind control teaching to keep us asleep in a trance and not fully formed individuals. And you have Alice in Wonderland in the middle. And, you know, when you see Alice in Wonderland and you see the white rabbit behind, it's like we're in this kind of alternate reality. You know, we're trained into this kind of alternate reality. And I remember when I was in school, I was given, you know, fiction books. Like, we read quite a few. Not all of them were fiction, but we read a lot of fiction books. We even read Brave New World, you know, Color Purple, quite a few fiction books. You know, I can't remember all of them, but a lot of I can't remember the exact breakdown, but in high school we read a lot of fiction books. So it's almost like we're in this like fairy tale, false reality, mind control setting. But there are exactly 12 of these blue, not fully formed figures behind her. They're Israel, symbolizing the black children who don't know who they are, They don't even have eyes. They're not people. They have injury to the head, like mind control trauma. Like their brain is they've been injured by their education. You see dents in their heads, um, scribbling. They're no eye. They don't have eyes. Um, so two heads at least are fused together, like they're not fully formed. And I actually had a dream a few nights ago where my vehicle, I had a blue car and it had a dent in it, like one of the heads in one of those 12 figures behind the barbed wire, the 12 figures, that represent the 12 tribes of Israel. And I like I was the one, I took the viewpoint of the person doing it, but I like rubbed over that area and rubbed out the dent, like supernaturally rubbed out the dent that was in my car, towards the front of my car. And it was the same kind of dent that was in the head of the character to Alice's left, that had like the big dent. And supernaturally, in a dream, you can take on the experience of someone else. So in the dream, I was the one who, like, spiritually or whatever, rubbed across that dent and it was removed. So I'm thinking that represents my mind control through education and other means, that caused trauma to me, to my psyche. But yeah, these kids have dents in their heads. They don't have eyes. They're not fully formed. Through this education system, Alice in Wonderland, it could be said that it's a mind control tool, made to seem like, a harmless fairy tale, and then you have Alice in the middle. Now, if you're familiar with the Hart children, Devonte Hart, and there were 6 of them that were adopted, black children, and then three black children, full black children, and then 3 mixed children were adopted by 2 lesbian white women. And if you look at the video where Devonte Hart he gets up on stage and he hugs this musician named Xavier Judd. You can find it on YouTube. Xavier Rudd, I'm sorry. Devonte Hart, he hugs Xavier Rudd. Those kids ended up being murdered, but their lives are almost like a compacted view of the mind control that children go through, where they're given like a new age kind of religion in school, like love everyone. Like Devonte had on, actually, when he went up to hug Xavier Rudd, he had on a zebra outfit, black and white zebra outfit, and a tail. And he had a heart, one of the fake hearts, shaved into the side of his head, the word love shaved on his mohawk, and then another heart shaved on the other side. So it was like an overdoing of it. It's like it seemed fake because, he had a heart drawn on both sides of his head, and then the word love drawn on his mohawk, and then later, he's killed. But he was also pictured, with a free hugs sign, and he was famous for, I think it was a 2014 free hug sign. But this happened, the Xavier Rudd hug happened in 2013, but he was dressed up like an animal, and he was made to exude like this fake new age love, because they were at like this new agey type, they went to like these new agey events, and the two white lesbians were trying to show this kind of universal love, by bringing these 6 black children that they had, they starved them, but of course, they didn't let anyone know that, and they mistreated them, but they took them to these new age events and made it seem like, oh, we're this big happy family, there's so much love, and carving, shaving love into Devontae's head, and he's up there hugging some man that he doesn't know, and this man is doing what seems like a chant new age event, but it's almost like he had been programmed into this like false reality where you can love any and everybody. You can just hug adults, put up a sign that says free hugs for adults, and not feel any kind of fear or or anxiety about doing that. It's like it's a false reality. Um, and there was an exit at the back of the classroom, but the students, like, they couldn't leave because, first of all, they're in barbed wire, but second of all, they weren't fully formed human beings. They were damaged. Their heads were damaged, and they were like melting into the ground. So it was almost like, to me, it seemed like a mockery, because it's like they're not even facing the exit sign, and they're not able to move because they're not fully formed human beings. So it's almost like Satan mocking what he's turned Israel into, because Israel doesn't know who it is. Israel is giving its kids up for adoption, for them to be mocked, not intentionally, but giving its kids over to other nations that don't believe as Israel does. And in turn, the devil is using that as, yet another opportunity to mock God and to destroy the remnant, because, as the Bible says, God, the devil is after the remnant of the woman who gave birth to Israel. Like Israel is like a woman, and we are like the remnant of the seed. And so he's going after Israel. And those 12 children represent Israel, but they're in barbed wire, and they don't know who they are. They don't have eyes. They're not, taught correctly. They're mind controlled. And so those are those black children who are in the classroom who don't know who they are, and they're being taught incorrectly. So Alice goes to school to learn, but she's given like a fairy tale, mind controlled, false reality. And then we see Alice, she like, when Barack Obama is up front, it's almost like Barack Obama is used to try to persuade these black children. So Alice opens up her eyes. She sees Barack Obama. She's holding this apple. An apple could represent knowledge, but she drops she goes to sleep during the instruction. She, like, her eyelids go down and she goes to sleep, which shows this is what the education system really is doing. And she's still on the checkered floor. It puts you to sleep. It dulls your consciousness. So she goes to sleep and she drops knowledge. So she's not actually receiving full knowledge. She drops knowledge and she doesn't bite off of it. So school is not for what you think it is. It's to put you to sleep. It's to dull you down. It's to hypnotize you, put you in a fantasy world. Her being in that, I guess it's a protection circle, maybe is indication of protection, or protection by God or something, like, I don't know. But obviously, the 12 tribes are under such bondage in the devil's system and the devil's mind control that they can't go anywhere, and that they're not a threat. They're not even really alive anymore. But she goes to sleep, didn't bite the apple. The room darkens, and but also what that could indicate, not only is she put to sleep in the school, but she also, as she drops the apple is at her womb area, her stomach area. When she drops the apple and it rolls out of the circle and it rolls over to Obama's foot, it's like she's pained, like her face looks like she's giving birth. And the apple, to further illustrate with the, Alice with the rabbit in the back, and also the apple rolls over what seems to be Lewis Carroll's initials, LC, who is the author of Alice in Wonderland. So the apple rolls over that and it hits Obama's foot. And then it splits in half. Now, when it splits in half, on the left side, you have 2 seeds in the apple, but on the right side, you only have 1 seed. Now, the seed on the right, the single seed on the right, there's like a snake-like line or something that goes up, and then one of the seeds on the left goes up, and then the two seeds form a lotus flower, which indicates rebirth. Now, this is the serpent seed doctrine in terms of the girl, the white female, or giving birth to the forbidden, taking of the forbidden fruit, and gives birth, and then like the serpent-like lines go up to form like something new, you know, something new from within, and but it's a rebirth. It's a lotus flower, so it's a rebirth. So what's being rebirthed? Well, Cain was produced of the serpent seed, from taking of the forbidden fruit. So being that he's controlled by Satan's seed, serpent seed, it's almost like a rebirth of Satan, because Satan is his father and is therefore able to control Cain. So, and the apple stops at Obama's foot, and Obama is stepping on a coin. So, and Obama is half white and half black, so that could indicate like a Cain type figure, but it also indicates that with Obama with his foot on the coin could indicate that he was used in order to bankrupt or I guess devalue, bring down the value of a certain coin, because they say the Democrats use money excessively or whatever, so maybe he was used in order to bankrupt a nation or something like that. So when the seed, when the two seeds turn into the lotus flower, and that shows like a rebirth, eternity. They say the lotus flower also could equal purity, beauty. He's nervous, like you see the sweat drip down from his forehead, and he could be nervous because his presidency is ending and his usefulness is no longer needed because he's done his job. One could say that he helped to, they were already asleep, they were already bound in barbed wire, but it could say that he helped to put Alice to sleep. He helped to put Israel, black people, or whoever his audience was to sleep. But his job is now up. And so he seems to be nervous. Like, he's no longer needed. So what will happen next? So then we see it's almost like a spirit or just a view panning out to outside of the building, and then we see on the wall Psalm 23. And within Psalm 23, there's this is the valley of the shadow of death. It says that you walk through the valley of the shadow of death. And there's also like a lightning bolt going through Psalm 23. So this is the valley of the shadow of death. And I've done a video on earth being hell. And it's like, this is like the land of the dead. So, but it's also showing that Satan is the god of this world with the lightning bolt going through Psalm 23. So it's like, this is the valley of the shadow of death. Like you're walking through the valley of shadow of death, and most of the video is in darkness. And Satan is the prince of this world. And then we see the American flag being torn in two. So that could equal a civil war. But it's showing, America being destroyed as it is. And it's in darkness as it is at this point in time. So America being destroyed. And Obama with kind of like his head down, kind of like maybe he's lost that puppetry, that power as a symbol of the leader of the free world. But being that he's a puppet, maybe it could indicate also, like I said before, that the evil spirit, the powerful evil spirit that had resided in him has gone on to its next vessel. So Then we have the Twin Towers are destroyed. So, and I think that's related to America being the American flag being destroyed, because you have the Twin Towers destroyed, symbolism, and that paints Muslims as the enemy. Um, so it gets people scared and willing to give up their freedom, because America is considered the land of the free. So America is destroyed. Why? Because people are willing to give up their freedom for the sake of their security, because they see this dangerous outside threat. These Muslims, they think, are blowing up buildings, and so they want revenge, and then they also want security. So they're willing to go with the solution that's presented to them because of this terrorist attack presumed. Then we have the Anubis boat, which is Anubis is the god of the dead. So again, that kind of goes back to this being the valley of the shadow of death, and me doing a video in which I said that earth is hell. Now you have the boat of the god of the dead, and he's the god of the dead in the afterlife and embalming. Well, we'll see as this video, or this description of the video, goes on, that Satan actually is disguised in many religions, many belief systems. He's disguised as various gods in their belief systems, but it's the same person. He's the same masked. He wears different masks, but it's the same evil spirit masquerading as different gods for these different religions. But anyway, the Anubis boat is the boat of the god of the dead. And we see that it traveling through a fog. Fog could mean confusion. So this boat is traveling through this fog of confusion. Or it could indicate this is the god of confusion, meaning, all these different religions where he's pretending to be other gods, but it's really just him. And it carries the Antichrist, the fake Christ. And there are many parts of this video that indicate that this is in fact an Antichrist, a fake Christ. Then next we have Osama bin Laden on a boat or an ice block, and he has the CIA badge on, so it shows that this supposed terrorist actually works for the CIA. And so he is an actor as well. He's supposed to be the Islamic boogeyman, to make people in the U.S. in particular hate Muslims. So he's this Islamic boogeyman who actually works for the country that he supposedly attacked, because he's not real. He's an actor. He's an actor. He's the Islamic boogeyman. Now, but he's worshiping he has black wings, which means that indicates fallen angel. Okay. He has black wings, and he closes his eyes, and he's worshiping like a moon, a moon. And that indicates that Muslims actually worship a moon god, whether they realize it or not. They're worshiping a fallen angel, the black wings, and they're worshiping the moon god. And the moon god, of course, is Satan masquerading as something else. And then we have the explanation for the wars in the Middle East. And we have the oil, the fracking of the oil, and then the oil dripping. So we're showing that these, not only was 9/11 used in order to, help tear America apart, and then also cast Osama bin Laden and Muslims as evil, but we had to do that in order to get over there and get the oil, because it's showing the oil dripping and the fracking of the oil. So it's giving the explanation for why we needed these wars, why we needed Osama bin Laden, in order to steal the resources of another area by painting them as evil. So it gave the U.S. permission to go over there and, wreak havoc and, steal the resources and take over. Because, Americans were so angry, they wanted revenge. So it's okay, well, we're going to go over there and make war, but it's not going to be for the reason that you think it is. Now we see the Statue of Liberty. But below it is the Star of David, but there's no such thing. Like it's demonic. Like it's a six-pointed star, um, indicating the devil, 6 points, and it's supposed to represent evil. So it's basically a star of demons, and the people in Israel now actually in secret they worship the devil. Um, they're Talmud, um, they worship another God. They don't worship the God of the Bible, and they've stolen the identity. As I said earlier, the 12 tribes, the people who fit the 12 tribes, the curses are blacks in the Americas. So the people over there now, the white-skinned people over there now, are not the actual Jews of the Bible. They've stolen the identity, and they actually worship the devil. Six-pointed star, 6 points. It's a demonic symbol. So the Statue of Liberty is above this symbol, but the symbol is below it, meaning that it's controlled, like the Statue of Liberty is controlled by this Israel state. This occupying Israel state actually controls America, and it blocks out, the light is blocked out on America, and the torch falls. So like there's darkness, like we don't have any light. But the light underneath the six-pointed star has light. So it almost indicates that the controllers, the ones who control America, have knowledge, have I guess satanic wisdom with their six-pointed star. But America is in darkness, doesn't know anything. The torch falls, the light, the sky closes over it, is in darkness. Didn't know what's happening. Doesn't have that wisdom from, I guess, the devil, from Lucifer. That's what they call him. Now there is a fetus surrounded by like a serpent, which indicates the serpent seed. Like there's an egg and then a serpent wrapping around it to indicate the serpent seed. And of course, the fetus inside of the seed is white. It's a white baby. And the snake eye, the eye of the serpent, is watching it, but it's on like a TV, which indicates that the devil controls technology. The devil, the eye of the serpent is on this technology screen, but it has the body of a serpent, and it's in control, like it's controlling this, it's watching this egg and cultivating, this egg. And then we have the Anubis boat, and we only see like the left eye. Only the left eye of this Anubis symbol on the front of this boat is illuminated, which indicates this is the false shepherd, the worthless, the shepherd whose right eye is darkened, because it's the shepherd sent to punish those who would not follow the real shepherd. Okay. So it's carrying the false Christ, and it represents the worthless idol shepherd of Zechariah chapter 11, who will not lead them, because of their disobedience to God. So, the boat, the image on the front of the boat has only the left eye illuminated. And it said, the sword shall be upon his arm and upon his right eye. His arm shall be clean, dried up, and his right eye shall be utterly darkened. So the right eye of this Anubis boat symbol is utterly darkened. This is Zechariah chapter 11, verse 17. And there's the fake heart symbol on the Antichrist white male, who has long hair, long-haired male, which is also a symbol of kind of a blurring of the feminine and the female and the male. He has long hair, and there's fire on this fake heart, which is a symbol of Satan. It's a fake heart, fake love, and then there's fire on it. Fire indicates Satan. It's a symbol for Satan. And this fake Christ is led by the all-seeing eye of Satan on his brain or on his forehead. And and he's still like asleep. He still has his eyes closed, so he hasn't really yet awakened. And he's also like a parallel image of this fetus, this serpent seed that is being looked after and being still in the womb, hasn't been birthed yet. So this Antichrist still has its eyes closed, doesn't know who he is. It's kind of like in a trance state, but it has the all-seeing eye on his forehead, and it's moving in this boat. This Anubis boat, god of the dead, is moving him around. So he's the same as like the blue-eyed pale boy. There's, who's being controlled now by this reptilian demon on the TV screen that has like a snake tail and is attached to his head. So now the egg has hatched, and it creates this pale blue-eyed boy. And the image on the television screen is a reptile again image, reptile eyes, and it has like money, like the symbols of the dollar bill on his chin, and gold as a beard, and silver. Silver as a beard, and silver as eyebrows, and a gold earring, and so his face is made up of money, so it could indicate like a reptilian type person who is only concerned with money, or the bankers, or so this boy is overwhelmed by the satanic media. So he's the hatched serpent seed, and now like he's going through this intense mind control process where he's connected to this media, that brainwashes us and mind controls us all. He's connected to it. He's overwhelmed by it. He was cultivated by it since birth, and beside him, there are pills, and I'm thinking these are psychiatric prescribed pills and drugs to aid, like they're supposed to help him, but they're actually helping the mind control process, because it's destroying his mind. Like taking psychiatric drugs destroys your mind, and it keeps him in like a trance and like a suggestive state, so that the mind control will take. So essentially these drugs are helping the mind control to take, because he's kind of like in a semi-conscious state, and the TV is just running and overwhelming him. And then he sees in his eyes, the TV playing, showing that the market had crashed, and that there's war coverage, and so he's just overwhelmed by this, because of course with the reptilian figure with the money making up eyebrows and beard and the gold, it shows that this reptilian figure controls the money. And then with the reptilian hands, it controls like the wars and has blood on his hands. But it's overwhelming this child with the destruction it has caused. And so the boy is overwhelmed by the television showing, the orchestrated events that this reptilian type figure is actually puppeteering, like the bankers helping to crash the market and instigating wars through like 9/11. These are manufactured events, but they're portrayed on television, and then the people who are connected to the television, who watch television, who view the media, are overwhelmed by it. Then we had the mosque being bombed in the Middle East. Again, this is showing a continuation of the wars, the 9/11 being the spark to help justify these wars. Mosque being bombed could indicate wars in the Middle East, Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, places like that. But out of this mosque, when this mosque is bombed, black birds fly out of it. That means that out of this mosque, this seemingly holy place, evil spirits are flying out of it. Why? Because, and also you see a moon fall into the mosque, like collapse within the mosque, indicating again they're worshiping the moon god. They're worshiping a false god. Islam is worships a false god, and out of its temple fly evil spirits, black birds. So it's a religion where they worship evil spirits, moon god, false prophets. It's a false religion. Now, the fake heart of fire on the Antichrist is still, there's still fire on it, indicating the fake Christ. And if you see some of his pictures, you'll see that the fake Antichrist has that fake heart on his chest that he points to in some of these fake images of Christ, who is not a white male with long hair. Now he destroys a dove, a white dove comes to his hand and he destroys it. Now some can say it means he destroys peace, but the Bible, Daniel 8, actually says that this king empowered by Satan will operate by deceit. Okay, so he's already shown as being Christ, but he's not the actual Christ, but he'll fool many by taking on that form. And it says, and by peace he shall destroy many. And that's Daniel chapter 8, verse 24. So a dove is a symbol of peace, and the fire is a symbol of Satan. And it says, by peace shall he destroy many. So could it also mean that he has peace in his hand, but he's actually the devil? And by using peace, he's able to destroy people. So that's another, or having, looking like a lamb and speaking as a dragon, just that deception of a man who is possessed by the devil. So due to the bombing of the mosque, there's the killing of a Muslim child or Muslim children, but in this video it just shows a single Muslim child. And then you have the Muslim woman dressed in traditional, Muslim attire and in all black, and her eyes are closed and she's crying over her dead child, who presumably was killed in that explosion. But the child only has the one eye symbolism. The child's right eye is darkened, or swollen shut. So the right eye symbolism, which is another sign that they're worshiping the one-eyed, like Satan, idol, deceitful Satan, because only one eye is free, the other is covered by like a bruise or something, and then the mother has her eyes closed, and having your eyes closed could mean in spiritual darkness, or you're unaware, you don't have knowledge. Now next we're shown blacks. We're shown a black girl and presumably a black male, but we can't see the face of them. Now it's almost like they're programmed to destroy each other. I say that because she has eyes like a robot, and those eyes are glowing red. And whenever you see in movies, when you see a robot and their eyes glow red, that means they've gone evil. They've been programmed for evil. So it shows she's been programmed for evil. That's why her eyes are glowing red. And I'm wondering if this relates to the classroom scene where you had the penis with the 3 drops of semen and the erased person, because she has a gun and it's facing in the direction of the black male. And she has cuts on her arms. She has the fake heart band-aid on her head. And again, it's like mocking true love, because that's a fake heart. That's not real. That's not real. That's not what a real heart looks like. It's not a heart. It's not love. But it's almost like they're being programmed to destroy each other, because she has a gun, is pointing in his direction. They're both with very little to no clothes on. So it's almost like had they just finished having sex. He has the skull and bones crossbone on his arm, which indicates death. He represents death. She is topless, but she has she's holding the gun towards him, or in his direction. She's topless. She has on the pearl necklace, which could indicate that she's materialistic. And she's topless, which could indicate that she's a whore, or she's a prostitute, or she's promiscuous, or she's shamed. She's shamed. And she appears to be pregnant as well. She has a pregnant stomach. And this black male with the skull and crossbones on his arm representing death pulls a purple ribbon from her pregnant belly. Now, the purple ribbon indicates Opioid Awareness Day, opioid crisis awareness. That's what it indicates. So she could be addicted to, could she be addicted to a drug? Because when he is pulling that purple opioid awareness string from her stomach, she's like twitching, you know, almost like a drug addict would. She has chapped lips and she's twitching like a drug addict would. And the purple ribbon represents Opioid Awareness Month. So it's just like a drug dealer, but she's pregnant, and so, and she's nude, and she has like those marks that she has on her face, that paint. That is how they depict Indians, like Native American, as savages. They depict it in order to validate taking over the Native Americans' land. They depicted them as savages with face paint and naked, you know, running around the jungles naked with face paint on. So these two black characters are both almost naked, but she's the one with like the what they depict as savage face paint. So it's almost like the black woman is depicted as a savage, and also maybe a drug addict, programmed to evil, pregnant, heavily pregnant, about to give birth, breasts exposed, which depicts her as a prostitute, and pearls indicates materialism. And then after, so I'm wondering if after this, this unseen male who represents death, maybe as a drug dealer or whatever, and you know, the gun could indicate drugs and guns being placed in black neighborhoods, so blacks could destroy each other. Black drug dealers could give drugs to blacks, and then black males could destroy each other with guns. And so in doing this, this black drug dealer is destroying her future unborn child, because when he takes off this purple ribbon, she, like her robotic red eyes go out. So it's almost like she dies. If she dies and she's pregnant, presumably the baby dies as well. So it's like blacks destroying each other. Like, he represents death. She might be addicted to the drugs, and she's also holding a gun in his direction. So it almost seems like blacks killing each other, depicted as savages, programmed to either self-terminate through drugs or kill each other. So it just seems like they're programming the black race to destroy itself. They're being programmed that way. And then her trembling. If you look at the way she trembles, you know, she trembles like someone who's like tweaking. You know what I mean? So that's another thing that makes it seem like she's a drug addict, with the chapped lips. She's tweaking. She's, you know, she's not right. You know, there's something not right. And then we have the lotus flower again, which is depicted, you know, several times in this video. And it represents, you know, rebirth, the lotus flower, eternity, purity, rebirth, beauty. Those are things that the lotus flower is supposed to depict. So we're going to go with rebirth as the symbolism for this particular scene. It's floating towards, it's floating on like a pale green goo, liquid goo. And that's like death. Pale green equals death. Like a yellowish green color equals death. And if you look at the pale horse, is actually like a pale green horse in the Bible, and it indicates like death. So it's floating on like a death goo, and it's going towards this Hispanic Latin brown male who's holding the hammer and sickle, which indicates communism. So I'm thinking Latin American, like um, Hugo Chavez communism, and are they being destroyed by biological warfare, Hugo Chavez, or are they being destroyed some other way? But I'm thinking about Cuban communism, Latin American communism being destroyed, but it's going to be reborn as something else, which is why the lotus flower is floating towards it, and he is drowned in this death goo holding the hammer and sickle of communism. So it seems like communism is going to be destroyed and reborn as something else. So, but not only communism itself, because see, if it were only communism itself, then it would just be the hammer and sickle being destroyed. But the Hispanic Latin man is being destroyed with communism. So I wonder if that's like these people, like the Muslims being destroyed by the bombing of the mosques, Muslim children being destroyed by the bombing of the mosques, the black children being destroyed by drugs and gun violence in their neighborhoods, destroying each other, and the Latins, Latin Americans, Hispanics being destroyed by some other means, but drowning in the goo. So it could be destruction of peoples, the darker, the brown peoples, because the Muslim boy was brown, the Hispanic or Latin guy was brown, and of course the blacks were brown as well. So it could be destruction of those people. And then there's war coming towards China, and we know it's China because we see the yin yang symbol on the floor, but it's and of course that's similar to the black and white checkered floor of the the Masonic symbolism earlier, of there being of good and evil kind of merging. So that itself is an indication of like a false religion, if you think that there could be the merging of the good and the evil, but that's the yin yang symbol, and that's what's on the ground. And so China will surrender. That's what this video is saying, because China is waving the surrender flag. But the girl has brown hair, so it's almost like, I mean, is that a merging of the white race and the Chinese? Is that what it is? Is that why she has brown hair and looks like a combination of Asian and white? I don't know, but I just know that she represents China because of the yin yang, but her features look like something a little different. So China will surrender. Doesn't want, she has the line through the nuclear war image, so it's like she doesn't want nuclear war, and she has the fake heart on the other cheek, but of course she worships a false religion. So that heart is not the real heart, like the merging of good and evil is not something that's doable, like that's not correct. But she's no match. I mean, you have this girl, this single girl waving this white flag. She's no match for those tanks running towards her. And then we see the disappearance of the yin yang symbol between them. But behind her, there is the Day of the Dead character, so death, representing death. And their fireworks. That could be nuclear weapons. So despite her urging to the contrary, there could be nuclear war anyway. That could be what the fire represents, or it could just represent the celebration of death. But I mean, I would think that it also could represent nuclear war. Yeah, despite her urging, trying to negotiate, because a white flag could also mean negotiation. Like you're surrendering, but you're also negotiating. You're saying, look, we don't have any arms. Like we don't have any weapons, saying that you're disarmed. If you wave a white flag, it could indicate that you're disarmed. You're ready to negotiate, and you're giving up essentially. But they're fireworks anyway. So I'm thinking behind the back, because this death character, Day of the Dead character, is behind her back. So it's like behind China's back, they're still going to do the nuclear war. That's what it seems like. And so China seems to face defeat, but it doesn't show China being killed, but just like facing defeat. Like not like The Muslim child is depicted as dead. The black female is depicted as dead with the eyes, gone out. And then the Muslim, not the Muslim, then the Latin American male is depicted as drowning in the death goo. But China just kind of lowers its head, or the merging of China and another nation, when faced with death and with the fireworks behind his back. And then we have the fake Christ still like in a trance, and it's being led by, the god of the dead, still the boat of Anubis, who's the god of the dead, through fog, confusion. The fog again indicates confusion, and his feet, his feet and ankles are on fire, again an indication of him coming from hell. And there's barbed wire thorns around his head, and it could mean he's not yet aware of who he is, or he's still like enslaved, mentally enslaved, still in darkness. His eyes are still closed. And then also, the Christ crown of thorns is also associated with Christ. But this crown, I mean, it's just a single barbed wire. So I'm just thinking it means that, he's still mentally enslaved. He's mentally enslaved, just like the goat, the pet goat, who's hypnotized, and like the children behind barbed wire. It indicates a mental, mind control, mental slavery. And then he has, the Illuminati pyramid and the all-seeing eye and the illumination rays on his forehead. And then it shows him, he's falling through dimensions, like he's fall. It shows him falling, like he's like, this is the most potent, I think, indication that he is Satan in the entire short film, because it shows him falling through these squares of dimensions, through the stars, and he's breathing out fire like a dragon. So he's falling, Satan falling from heaven through various dimensions down to earth, and he's breathing out fire. And he's shown as like this like spiritual character, falling and breathing out fire like a dragon, which is what Satan is depicted as. And then he's shown like he's filled with hellfire. And I'm thinking that means he's filled just like the dove landed on Christ and he was filled with the Holy Spirit. I think showing after the falling from various dimensions of this entity that is in the form of this fake Christ with fire breathing out of his mouth. And then we show this fake Christ figure, the outline of him, and he's filled up with fire. I think that's showing he's filled up with the spirit of the devil. So he's filled up with fire. He's outlined with black. So it indicates that he's, filled with the spirit of the devil, getting his power from the devil, the hellfire inside of him. Then we have Kali, yet another false god of the Hindu religion. And again, it's Satan with a mask. It's that same character that wears masks, that had a sad face on and was committing suicide when the towers were falling. It had the sad face on. But now it has the mask of Kali, which is a false god. And Kali is a goddess, and she destroys. But she also rebuilds. So it's like destruction and rebuild. But it's Satan wearing a mask, and she's doing this around a fire, so that's another indication of Satan. When you see fire, think Satan. Now, as this Christ figure is still traveling in this Anubis boat of the dead, you have the black and white fish jumping into his boat. And this could indicate, again, the black and white is a merging of good and evil, which is that Luciferian doctrine. Hidden in various forms. It could be yin yang, it could be Masonic, it could be occultism, saying that there's good and there's evil and they need to merge. These fish are black and white, so they can indicate Freemasons, New Age religions, false religions, people who, will willingly follow the Antichrist because they're not following the one and true God. And so they jump into the Antichrist boat of the dead, God of the dead boat. They're jumping from the water into the boat, meaning they're going to die. They're jumping into this Antichrist boat, false Christ boat, but they're going to die. They're out of water. But they're doing it willingly, following the false Christ. So these people with false belief systems, they're going to end up dying because they're going to follow a spirit. They're going to follow something disguised as something else, but it's going to be Satan, and they're going to die because they're in the boat of the dead, boat of the God of the dead, Anubis boat. Now, then we have the Catholic Church, but the Catholic Church is the penis structure of this figure that's on its back, this ice sculpted figure on its back. And it could indicate, you know, it's frozen, it's rigid, but it's dying. It could indicate it's dying because it's on its back, but it has one breast and it appears to be pregnant, but it has a penis. So that could indicate like the Baphomet, you know, just like the reptilian puppeteer was depicted with long fingernails. That could indicate kind of like a blending of the male and the female. Also, this false Christ has very long hair, and this figure on its back with the fat, you know, with the penis representing the Catholic Church. It has one breast and it appears to be pregnant, so it's like Baphomet type, you know, male and female combined, again, which is Satan. And on the penis is a cross indicating, letting you know it's a Catholic Church. It has the fake heart symbol again, but the fake heart symbol is in neon lights, meaning red light district, meaning prostitution. And inside is the Whore of Babylon. How do we know this? Well, she's topless. She's an old woman. She's in the Catholic Church with a cross on top. She has a wand waving her sorceries. You know, the Whore of Babylon who used her sorceries. So she has her wand. She sees the light. The hand of the devil comes down to impregnate her, and she sees the light, and she's using her sorceries because she's the Whore of Babylon. She has her breasts exposed. She has, I guess, numbers on the back of the wall of all her various partners who she's committed, you know, fornication with. And so the Whore of Babylon is the Catholic Church, and the Catholic Church is another false religion. And she represents also Mary, which is the Queen of Heaven, which people worship in the Catholic religion, because it's Babylonian, it's disguised as something else. But they're all these religions: Islam, Catholic Church, Hinduism, Taoism. These various religions are false religions that is Satan in disguise. So he's the queen, Satan, you know, who is represented by the Baphomet, can be male or female. He can disguise, just like he was disguised as Callie. You know, he can be disguised as a male or a female, just like he's the girl in the Ninth Gate movie. Just like he's Lucy and in control of all the technology in the movie Lucy, with Scarlett Johansson. Scarlett, I don't know, with the Morgan Freeman movie called Lucy with Scarlett Johansson, I think her name is, where he's a female in that, and he controls technology, but he's comfortable. He doesn't, you know, he's comfortable pretending to be male or female. In fact, he depicts himself as both, which is just gross. But you know, anything that God is against, he's for, seemingly. So he's disguised as the Queen of Heaven, the Whore of Babylon. They're all Satan. So Satan impregnates himself, I suppose, while the Whore of Babylon waves her wand, and he mocks the virgin birth by impregnating the Whore of Babylon, and without like the Immaculate Conception type thing. So he's like depicting himself as God, impregnating the Virgin Mary, because the Whore of Babylon is the Mother Mary of the Catholic Church, is the Queen of Heaven, is Satan. disguised as the Queen of Heaven and marrying the Catholic Church in order to get worship. So, the whore of Babylon is impregnated by this Antichrist, is impregnated with this Antichrist figure that is being in the process of being birthed, but still has his eyes closed, which will be filled up with the spirit of Satan. And so, why is she called the whore of Babylon, and why is she so old? Well, the Catholic Church is old, but the Babylon religion is even older. Babylon was the first beast kingdom, so it's very old, and its religion is of Satan. So it's the oldest. One could say it's the oldest of Satan's established false religions, one could say. And it's been camouflaged and put into the Catholic Church in order to form something that seems like Christianity, but isn't. Is actually secretly the worship of Satan and Babylonian religion of Satan worship. She even has a witch nose, like a witch, with her wands and all. Now, the fake Christ rises up out of the ashes. Like you see, if you watch it at half speed, you see a hand come up out of the ashes of all these like men that are already ash, but they're dressed up in suits. And it's almost like a destruction of the old, to making a way for the new. But there's a hand that rises up out of the ashes, pushes the hand. I would say it's the hand of the devil pushing the Antichrist up out of the ash, like the phoenix. The phoenix that destroys itself. It has a long lifespan. It destroys itself at the end of the lifespan by setting itself on fire, and out of the ashes it is rebirthed. So it's a symbol of immortality. And there's only one in existence at any one time, but it's a symbol, it's a bird, it's a symbol of Satan, the fallen angel, who is supposed to be, in the lake of, the lake of fire. Like the fire, you have the fire symbolism, you have the fallen angel type symbolism, the immortality. The phoenix is Satan, and here he's being reborn in this Antichrist figure out of the ash. And what does the Antichrist figure do when it's lifted up? It destroys everything that's old, and it almost seems like a nuclear war, like a nuclear bomb goes off, but the ash is destroyed. This is the phoenix rising out of the old and destroying in order to create something new. So all these ash figures, that's destroyed. The old world is destroyed. So keep that in mind. This new rebirth of Satan in the form of this new like Antichrist is going to destroy everything that came before him. And I don't know if you've watched the series Lost, the Lost TV series. Jacob, who is actually the devil, in the Lost series, when he is kicked into the fire by Ben Linus, who at the end will eventually become the new protector of the island. But see, it's deceptive because Jacob never really confirms that he's the devil. But you kind of, if you know the Bible, and if you realize that Jacob is actually an evil character in the Lost TV series that was on ABC. But when Ben Linus kicks him into the fire, that is like the Phoenix rebirth, like, because Ben Linus ends up being the new, but he is the most ruthless, most manipulative character in the series. So it's like the devil being reborn at the end of his lifespan. He's reborn. He's kicked into the fire, and then he rises anew as Ben Linus. And he actually comes back to get his ashes from Hugo, who is another character. So it's the indication of the devil transforming and rebirthing into something else when his lifespan is over. So it's like Jacob is, burned in the fire, like the phoenix sets itself on fire and then is reborn as Ben Linus, one could say. So the phoenix is the Egyptians associate the phoenix with immortality. So the Egyptians, again, it's like you can see the 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 um the connection between like these destroyer gods, this, moon worship, Anubis, god of the dead. Like these are all like satanic worship religions, but they don't realize it. But the Egyptians associate the phoenix with immortality because, it's burned up like Satan burned in the fire and then he's reborn to show his immortality. This bird, this immortal that gets burned up but yet lives. So again, it looks like a nuclear blast that's, comes out of the ash, destroys everything before it. Okay. And then we have a close-up when it's raised up out of the ash. We have a close-up of this Antichrist figure with a fake heart and, with the fire coming out of it. And he's lifted above all these, ash men in straight lines below. And it's like, it almost seems like, and, he raises his hands, and it almost seems like he's, and it seems to show him magnifying himself in his own heart, like in Daniel chapter 8. And what kind of what gives further indication of him magnifying himself in his own heart as the king of fierce continents of Daniel 8 is the fact that he shall whose power should be mighty, but not by his own power. And you see that hand of the ash lifting. If you go at half the speed, you see a hand in the ash lifting this Antichrist figure up above all these ash figures, which indicates the hand of Satan is what's lifting, giving the power to this king of fierce countenance, this aggressive, king who understands dark sentences. So he's lifted up by the power of Satan, and it says that he will be magnified in his own heart. And then you see when he's lifted up, you see him put out his hands, like magnifying himself, and his heart, it closes in on his heart. So it's like he's magnifying himself in his own heart. So again, if you know the Bible, you realize this as a fake Christ, someone filled with the spirit of the devil. Now the program is complete for the blue-eyed pale boy, whose storyline is like parallel to this Antichrist figure who's filled with the spirit of the devil, filled with the fire, the hellfire of the devil, the spirit of the devil who was cast down. It's the rebirth of the devil. The program is complete for the serpent seed. The serpent seed hatched. The boy was fully programmed. The psychiatric drugs helped the process. So it's complete. And so now he's disconnected from the serpent television. And this blue-eyed pale boy is now a robot zombie for Satan. He's empty-headed, like, there's nothing in his head. So he's empty-headed, and he's a zombie, now a robot zombie that won't resist Satan's rule. And he's empty. It doesn't show that he's filled up with any spirits, but he's empty, like a programmed robot, like, to do whatever he's told. Seems like the program is complete, so he's ready to do what he's told to do. And yeah, he looks like a zombie. He looks like the living dead. Now, the Day of the Dead skeleton is orchestrating this. That's why it's shown like he's conducting a symphony or an orchestra. He's orchestrating this destruction. He's orchestrating it. And he's like floating, so it means he's like a spirit. It can mean like he's a spirit, like Satan's spirit. Now the Muslim dead boy who had his eye, his right eye darkened, or closed shut, he is now in like a dervish, like spinning around up towards the moon. Again, this is an indication that Islam is moon god worship, which is satanic worship. And then you see the symbolism for Islam. They have a moon, but his eyes are still closed. Presumably, he's still dead, and his eye is still closed shut. And he's brown Muslim kid. So he's presumably still dead, but it's like he's being raised from the dead, but he's not going anywhere, and he raises up from this destroyed mosque, the mosque that was bombed earlier on in the film. He's raised up out of that, but he's not going anywhere. He's going towards the moon, but he's not going up to heaven. Like he's just like staying in that one place, spinning around. And it's like a mockery of Islam to say that, Islam, like Muslims don't go to heaven. It's like because they're worshiping the moon, so the only place they can go to is to the moon. And the moon is Satan, so they stay here like in the earth sphere, which is Satan's rule, his realm that he rules, because they worship the moon god, which is what's above. This boy is spinning, and there's the moon above him. So they can only go to Satan's kingdom because that's who they worship. They worship the moon god. So this kid, if he resurrects, he can't go like where he wants to go, because he was deceived. And, the eyes are closed, one eye symbolism with the eye darkened, which indicates, association with the false shepherd, the worthless shepherd, the idle shepherd who's really not leading you anywhere, but only enriching himself, is only greedy and violent. So that's what the one eye symbolism is associated with. But he's in the location of where the mosque was destroyed, to indicate, to say that, he was killed in that location, but he can't raise up to where he wants to go from where he was killed because he worships the moon god, the fake god. Then, the devil is dancing around his fire, with all these various masks that he uses to deceive people. And they seem to be all, animal masks. So then the light of Lucifer shines in. I'm thinking that this might be from the hand of Lucifer, the hand of the devil that comes down, light of Lucifer. They call him Lucifer because that means light bearer. So that light they consider to be good light, because it's knowledge, it's, understanding coming from Lucifer. That's what they call him, light bearer. I presume, that's light from the devil shining down on the whore of Babylon, impregnating her with this antichrist figure. And now the light is shined in, and the destruction dance that was started by Callie at the fire, and while the devil changed his mask, and now it seems like that destruction dance is over, and the light shines in, and we see a gargoyle at the birth canal, or the place where the Antichrist will exit the womb of the whore of Babylon. And there's a gargoyle there with its eyes illuminated. And there were gargoyles on Catholic churches in the Middle Ages. So it could indicate, a Catholic church, and it's a mockery of Christ. And it shows that the Catholic Church is evil because this is a devil character. Why would you have a devil character? I mean, of course, they have explanations, to ward off evil or keep evil out or show that outside the church is evil, whatever. But this is a demon. It has the horns, has pointed ears. It's a demon, and its eyes are enlightened, and it seems like a gargoyle from the Middle Ages Catholic churches, church buildings. So the Antichrist goes out through what seems like the birth canal, and this is like the enlightening period, the illumination period, from the hand of the devil illuminating down here. He awakens this false Christ figure, and there is fire in his eye. His eyes show, because he was filled up with the spirit of the devil. His eyes are fire. So inside of him is fire, the hellfire of the devil, because the devil has completely possessed him. the barbed wire around his head, his brain is removed because now he's illuminated. He has that knowledge. He's illuminated by Lucifer, Satan. So there's no more barbed wire on his head. He's no longer a mental slave. He has the knowledge. Still has the all-seeing eye and the pyramid and the illumination rays on his forehead. And then the false, once he opens his eyes, he's illuminated. The false Catholic Church is destroyed because, again, this is a rebirth period. The whore of Babylon was the queen of heaven, was Satan in disguise. Mother Mary being worshipped, Satan in disguise. Satan doesn't mind pretending to be a woman. But now he's being reborn, out with the old, in with the new, like the phoenix rising from the ashes. Being reborn is something else, but it's immortality, which is why you still see the lotus flowers floating on the water. Shows the rebirth of Satan into this new Antichrist figure, New Age type figure, seems like. And so his eyes are open. The Catholic Church is being destroyed, but also it seems as though Christianity is being destroyed, because while in the past Satan could pretend to be, he used Christianity in order to he used Catholic Church in order to, of course, pass on Babylon religion through it, but also to take the place of the actual Christ in order to get people not to follow the actual Christ but to follow him. But it becomes a liability, because with knowledge of the real God in this world, you still have people who will oppose you, because the real God, the Bible, shows what Satan really is. So at this stage, it seems like he wants to just get rid of Christianity altogether, because Christianity, the Bible, is the only book that actually exposes him for what he is. He is the Queen of Heaven, that they were, baking cakes to the Queen of Heaven. And it shows other nations worshiping demons and devils that they think are gods. And so the Bible exposes him. So it seems like not only is he destroying the old Catholic Church in which he was the Queen of Heaven, but he's also trying to destroy Christianity so that he won't be exposed, and so he won't have any competition with the real God. So that's what he's trying to do with this new rebirth of a new figure that is him, that is fully filled with his spirit, whom he gives his power to. So the false Catholic Church is destroyed, but with that also it seems like he hopes that Christianity will be destroyed. But he's on the boat of the God of the dead. The Nubis boat is the God of the dead's boat. So, he's the God of the dead. It's indicating that, the fish that jumped into his boat are going to die. Like he's expressing, like, I'm the God of the dead. I'm the God of those who are spiritually dead. But he's telling them something else, but the boat itself is the boat of the God of the dead. So it's like the shadow of the valley of death. The land of the dead, like the God of the dead, is here, like in that boat. And that's what the fish are jumping. They're jumping to their death. So it's almost like Satan's letting you know, you can follow me, but you're going to die. In a subtle way. He's saying that. And then, there's the sun in the distance, which is showing, the illumination. He's illuminated now with Satan, Luciferian wisdom, knowledge. His eyes are open. And the religions of the world are being destroyed. We saw the mosque destroyed, the church destroyed, and the sun ray, the meter or whatever from the sun destroys the Egyptian pyramid, which, you have Egyptian religion destroyed. You have Islam destroyed, Christianity destroyed, so Satan can be worshipped. So he can be worshipped. And I guess so he doesn't have to wear the masks anymore. He's wearing various masks so he can secretly be worshipped. You know, you tell someone in Islam that they're worshiping the devil, they won't believe you. But you put a mask on them, you know, they'll think that they're worshiping something else. But it's like destruction of not only Christianity, but the religions in which they think they're worshiping one thing. You know, they think they're worshiping Shiva or Allah or whatever, and they're actually worshiping Satan in disguise. It's the moon god, it's the god of destruction, it's the god of the dead. You know, in Egypt with its, you know, false gods as well, Anubis, you know, stuff like that. So, so he's shown as enlightened with the sun up ahead and fire still at his feet, indicating he's the devil. Fire in his eyes, he's the devil. Riding in the boat of the god of the dead, he's the devil. He's Satan. And at the end, you know, we have the fully programmed, the programming is complete of the empty-headed, I guess, zombie for this rebirthed Satan who's willing to, I guess, follow him with the blue eyes and the pale skin, zombie-like in appearance. And then we have Satan, who is fully possessed, this fake Christ figure who is destroying the church, or could just be destroying the Catholic Church and forming, you know, a new church, or just rebirth, because the Catholic Church has been exposed as well, you know, as being false. So he might be rebirthing for that reason. But yeah, that's my explanation of the video: the birthing of the Antichrist, the exposing of the Catholic Church and various other religions as being deceived into worshiping the devil, and basically the showing of the whole world being deceived by Satan, as Revelation indicates, and becoming goats who are mind controlled by the devil's media and his education system, into a mental prison of, you know, mind trauma to make them docile pets for Satan.